And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Salim. I have mine. I'll share in a moment, but just are you getting this vaccine? Is the question I have for you. Are you going to get vaccinated? And if so, when do you think you're going to get vaccinated?
The short answer is absolutely. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and talk crazy and say, "Oh, there's conspiracies here and there based on African Americans' history with medicine and science in this country." Essentially, what I've been learning is COVID is more so an advanced version of SARS, right? So it's like a SARS 2, but just it has that Hulk element to it, where once you get it, it can just damage vital organs and just muck up your respiratory system permanently, right? So seeing that we are in this global pandemic, it is definitely something that I'm going to do. Now, the question is the matter of when. I'm not a first adapter or anything, right? And I know a lot of people want this so they can get back to some semblance of normalcy. So people can travel, go to the beach, have barbecues, go to concerts, all
Summer
that.
coming, right?
That really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but people just want to have that normalcy, right? But am I going to jump in on the vaccine right away? No, because first, you have the three primary ones that you hear about are Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer. I've gotten through COVID fairly safely, right? Obviously, this thing will attack you unknowingly. It'll jump on you unexpectedly if you don't. If you do simple things like go to the grocery store, go to a drive-through, somebody touches something, you don't wash it. Well, it can happen. But I'm in the house and I'm good. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids. So I get to talk to my crazy ass self, and I don't have any noise or anything bothering me in the house. So the noise is me. I like my noise. Some people don't like that. I love it. I embrace it. I wash my hands. I wash my ass. I'm good.
That's always important.
That's always important, but it's amazing what you find out that certain people don't do in the midst of COVID. It's wild. It's wild shit. But when I do go out, it's for short spurts of time.
Right.
I'll go to Whole Foods.
And get back.
Whole Foods, 15 minutes, get through. Don't touch me. Right. What up, bro? Holler at you. Boom.
Right. Keep in and out. Feet. Right.
Yeah, in and out. I don't 6 feet. Yeah, people want to get up on you like, yo, bro, move.
Right.
Yeah. Yo, this ain't 2019, man. Get the fuck away from me. So
right.
I try to be very respectful of people's space and people's time, and I want them to be respectful of mine. So I try to eliminate the opportunity to get grand exposure. And I think I've been in like 5 people's houses for throughout the year, and I can count them all on like 1 or 2 hands. I'm good,
Right.
So I'm good until I'm not. So I'm definitely pro-vaccine. I will get it, but I'm not jumping through any hoops to get the shit right now. Let things get figured out. Let things kind of get more stable with that information.
Yeah, I think because of a few things, like I am an early adapter. Well, I guess it's like I'm part of the regular schedule. So my mom is 83, right? And she's staying with my brother in DC. And but she's normally in Philadelphia, like her crib is in Philadelphia. And at her place, which is an assisted living place, they were like, hey, if you're here, you can get vaccinated. And they were like, prioritize the elderly. So my mom got the vaccine before it was even accessible to me, and she's been fine. And I know I've got a couple of family members who work in healthcare who've gotten the vaccine, and they've been fine. So that made me feel confident that when here in Chicago, I got high blood pressure and I'm obese. And so that qualifies me as pre-existing conditions. And so when they opened up the pre-existing conditions, Keisha, my wife, and I were like, let's go. So we've had the first shot. We took the Pfizer vaccine. I had a little bit of achiness shit in the shoulder where they gave me the shot. I felt like a little, but we got our second one next month, April 8th, and we're looking forward to it. just to be protected. And I appreciate your willingness to talk about it from the perspective of like, this is like not being a conspiracy theory and things like that. I I'm an advocate for it. Obviously, I didn't took the shot. I'm going to take another one, and I understand like the mistrust of African Americans towards anything the country does. Right, like no matter, and it doesn't. It's not just people like, well, I can understand how I can mistrust the healthcare system. We should mistrust the healthcare system, the financial system, the political system. Like, there's nothing the United States has done that hasn't harmed us in some way. So I can understand that, and I understand that people would argue like, oh, the United States is trying to do better. Yes, it's still a white supremacist country at its roots and influences us and attacks us in that way. And but at the same time, now I'm looking at like uptake rates. Like people are like, oh, Tuskegee experiments. That was experiments done just on Black people. But when you look, like I'm looking at this chart from Kaiser Family Foundation, which is using CDC data, and I'll actually see if I can share this real quick. That probably makes sense to do because these are data about like uptake rates um, for in the United States, where it's like white people in the percent vaccinated, Black people in the percent vaccinated, Hispanic and Asian people in the percent vaccinated. And you can see that about 19% of white people have been vaccinated, only about 11% of Black people, 9% of Hispanic people, and then 16% of Asian people. Now, they don't have ethnicity data on everyone who's taking the shot, so the numbers might be a little bit skewed. But the point being, like, white people are taking up this vaccine at higher rates, right? And so for me, it's like this is not a thing where like people of color have been targeted, right? And if anything, it's a public health issue to ensure that, our people, people of color, Black, Indigenous people of colors, make sure that they're protected and stay healthy because I don't want us to die, man. I want us to stay healthy.
No, everything you said is legit. And for those people that try to make the creation of the vaccine a racial issue, I mean, it's just wrong. It's miseducation across the board with that. But I think where the race element comes into play based on those stats you just showed is more so in the distribution of the vaccine. You said 11% for African Americans and 9% for Latinos, or Hispanics. So right there, again, they're at the back of the line when it comes to the ability and the availability of the vaccine uh, being distributed if you want it, right? So I've heard stories that go across the lines of racial and social stratification, and I guess socioeconomical stratification. The Black friends that we have that have money, they've been able to get it. They're like they're putting their cards up and like, hey, I did it, hey, I did it. But they're like a lot of people from where I'm from, and I'm pretty sure from where you're from up in TNet, that probably don't have the same access. They aren't getting the vaccines as easily. Now some do get it based on things like obesity and high blood pressure. I'm even eligible because I have high blood pressure and my BMI is high, so I'm eligible to get it if I want it. But yeah, sometimes I can go to GW Hospital or the rich people's hospital here called Sibley. I can get it.
I know it well. Mom be hanging
I'm doing
out at
okay.
Sibley.
I'm doing all right. But Sibley, your brother's down the street from there. So,
right, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not everybody will have that access that's Black and brown in this area. So it's kind of a struggle to get that. It's just kind of funny how the distribution of this vaccine and availability of it is still kind of based on, hey, who has the money, who looks like this. It's almost like redlining in politics.
That's good.
You got this area that can have this stuff, but these guys got to vote by 7 p.m. or die. That type of thing.
Right. You make such a good point around access, and that's something that we get overlook a lot of times when we start talking about equity and inclusion. Is this access piece of it, and like you're right. Like part of it is just knowing how to navigate the system. So it's like, yeah, Keisha and I got shots, But in order to do that, I had to be in a Facebook group called Vaccine Hunters. I had to like navigate some web-based spreadsheets to figure out how the system worked. I had to be logged in and create an account at Walgreens, and then like be checking regularly and have the flexibility of my workday to have a web browser open, checking for vaccine appointments. So that that personal experience just proves your point. You're absolutely right. The other piece of it is when I did get a vaccine appointment, it was like 71st in Cottage Grove or like South Side, right? And so predominantly African American, middle, low income community. And so I'm in there and I get the shot and I'm like, great, like I'm happy. And I'm walking out the store and a woman stops me and was like, hey, did you just get a vaccine? A Black woman. I was like, yeah. And she was like, I don't know if I should get it. And I said, well, look, I'm 45. I got high blood pressure. I'm obese. I felt like it was important for me to get it. And she said, look, I'm 63. I qualify for it, but I don't know. I get like heart palpitations. I said, that's even more reason. Like, just check with your doctor. If your doctor says you should get it, you should get it. And she said, and then like, what do I do? Do I just go up here and make an appointment? And I was like, no, that's the thing. You got to like call the 800 number to get an appointment, or you got to log into the website. And she was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. But that information isn't readily available, right? So it's just to prove your point around like how there needs to be more access. Final thing I'll say about this and offer you the last word is just this idea of the conspiracy theories. And it's amazing to me how like for African American people, our distrust has led to conspiracy to a point that we're now aligned with QAnon on this, right? So the same people who stormed the Capitol were the ones saying like, they're putting microchips in your arm, they're using the vaccine to do this. Like we have people in the African American community now who are like aligned in that thinking with the predominantly white group that stormed the Capitol. And I think that's something that, just hit me the other day. It's like, so what is that, right? Like, what is the similarity between, for example, I have some friends who are like Black Israelites who would be like, don't take that shot, or right, other folks. So it's just this idea of like, we got some people who so radical in either direction or misinformed in one direction or another, that, the conspiracies are lining up. It just I was amazed at the thought.
Yeah, man. Like this country is wild. Like the Venn diagrams of thought from
Right.
two disparate groups
Right.
aligned in some stupidity. But that goes to show, like, I mean, we've always talked about this, just me and you, before we thought about doing this podcast. It's like education is lacking.
Right.
We don't teach kids critical thinking anymore, or how to be resourceful.
Yeah.
That simple task of thinking a problem through, word problems, or taking a scenario. If you go left, this will happen. If you go right, this will happen. We don't teach kids that, and then these kids become adults. Then they have kids, and it's just almost it's stupefying to see that the meek have now inherited the earth. I don't know about the earth, but America definitely. We made stupid people famous, and we've elected stupid people at all facets of government, state, local, federal, and they are the ones helping to push forward this narrative. When we were growing up, there were 3 channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and
right.
They were all responsible journalists because they did the work, they did the research. When we grew up on Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, they did the research, they did the work. We read newspapers. We didn't have Google, so we had to, if we wanted to get more information, we're walking to the library, we're getting a microfiche, and we're trying to figure this stuff out. Now that information is so accessible, Wikipedia as an example, anybody can put anything in there and it becomes Bible. So when you get the when you get that individual that has that charisma and that verve, and people follow that person, they can follow you down a path of hell, and it's all good.
Yeah, cult of
And that's what we're
personality.
seeing, and that's what we've been seeing, especially the last 4 years. It's increased. We were coming down that line with reality TV and why certain people are becoming famous because they're socialites. But now, when you got somebody in office that's helping to push forward this narrative, and they have a major media outlet like a Fox that can help be the megaphone for that agenda. Now we have to listen to both sides of this, even if we're like, yo, come on, doesn't make any sense. Common sense is now something that is uncommon. So
Yeah, man, that's really good. It's common sense. It's, to your point, the ability to think critically and reason is lacking. And I'm just reiterating what you've already said to summarize. And then people getting caught up in this cult of personality, because if you don't have the ability to reason, if you're not a critical thinker, then you're just looking for a whole ideology to adopt, right? You just like, and then if you have someone who's charismatic, you'll follow that cult of personality, adopt that whole ideology and system of thinking, as opposed to saying, hey, this part is true, that part is true, but over here, this part is true and that part is true, and be able to like reason for yourself. Even in terms of like religion, which we definitely got to get into in another show. It's like people feel like, relationship with the creator or with a higher power has to be like just what this one particular thing. It's really sad. And but I will say that I'm encouraged by people like yourself, Celine, who like getting the word out, who are smart brothers, and also like by people like Jay-Z, right? Like I see him making business moves. He's done what he needs to do to like transcend all of the simple parts of our culture and do something that is unique and special. So when I see people like that, I really get encouraged.